What's going on, guys? Welcome to Traffish Aquatics. Today I want to talk about liquid CO2 boosters because I see people talking online all the time about liquid CO2 boosters, which ones are the best to use, and one thing that I see happen more often than not is people asking the question, how much CO2 booster do I need to use to get my CO2 drop checker to change color? And every time I see these questions, I kind of just put my head down because it's not the user's fault. Essentially, the product is being labeled incorrectly. It's a false advertisement. So I want to talk to you guys about it a little bit and try and help gain an understanding of what these products actually are. So one of the biggest questions I see all the time is which liquid CO2 booster is going to give me the most CO2 in my tank so that the plants will do really well. And the short answer is none of them. And the reason is for that is because there's no such thing as a liquid CO2 booster, right? There's no such thing as a liquid CO2, at least in normal air temperatures and air pressures and conditions, right? If it's in a plastic bottle sitting on your shelf, it's not carbon dioxide, right? So the only way you're going to get carbon dioxide is if you go to a supply center who has the aluminum tanks or carbon fiber tanks, and you get a pressurized CO2 bottle, because liquid CO2 is only available under high pressure, right? So what are these liquid CO2 products, you're asking? So liquid CO2 products like Flourish Excel, right? API CO2 booster, and all of these other ones that I'm going to list right here, right? All of these are a product called glutaraldehyde. And what glutaraldehyde is it's a biocide. And if you're unfamiliar with the term of what a biocide is, a short, simple definition is a substance that destroys living things. Now, I know what you're thinking is, should I be putting that in my aquarium if it kills living things? And in small amounts, it's perfectly fine, right? But in large doses, if I was accidentally to take this bottle and be filling the cap, right, because that's how you dose this, is just by the cap. If you're filling the cap over your aquarium and go, and you drop the bottle in, huge problem, right? You're going to have big problems. You're going to have to do huge water changes. You got to get all of that out of there. It's probably going to end up killing all your plants. You might kill some of your fish. It's not good, right? So in concentrated forms, glutaraldehyde is actually used to sterilize hospital environments and to sanitize environments like that. So in this scenario, right, the glutaraldehyde that's in Excel or other CO2 boosters is going to be used as an algicide, right? And the way it works is you dose it in your aquarium. It targets the algae growing. So algae is obviously a plant form. It's going to be using CO2 that's already in your aquarium, and it is going to be using that CO2, converting it, growing more algae, and then producing oxygen. So what this is essentially doing is it's targeting that algae. It's going to kill the algae so that the algae is no longer using that CO2. So now that CO2 is more available for your plants. And the reason that it targets the algae is because it is a simple celled plant, right? So one thing you got to be careful of is if you have certain mosses, or if you have Anacharis or Elodia or jungle val, those plants are simple celled as well. So if you dose this stuff, it could kill those plants as well. So you have to be very careful what plants you're dosing this with. Otherwise, you could actually kill algae as well as your plants. So the other question that I get asked a lot, well, you need carbon, right? And this is a liquid carbon. So, sort of. A standard dose of Flourish Excel, for example, releases 2.2 parts per million carbon over a 10-hour period, which is about just over 0.2 parts per million per hour. So it does add a little bit of carbon to the aquarium, but we have other ways of introducing carbon into the aquarium that's much safer and much more effective. And you can do that using a simple air stone. right? Or having good surface agitation with a power head or a hang-on back filter, or even if you have a canister filter and you just tip your output up a little bit to agitate the surface of the water, you're going to get more carbon through the form of carbon dioxide into your aquarium simply by doing that, as opposed to using a product like this, right? So having good gas exchange, whether it be an air stone, hang-on back, whatever, agitating the surface of the aquarium, you're going to provide 3 to 5 parts per million per hour of carbon dioxide just because it's in the air that we breathe naturally. And you're injecting that into your aquarium via an air stone or just simple gas exchange on the surface of the water. You're going to be adding that much. And that's way more than you're going to get out of this and way safer, right? So in the ideal situation, if you have enough surface agitation, you have an air stone, you're going to keep a approximate saturation of about 8% CO2 just from an air stone and good surface agitation, right? As opposed to if you were to go to a supply store and get a regulator, a drop checker, a CO2 diffuser, and a pressurized tank, and you could run CO2 and keep it around a saturation of about 40%, right? So you can grow plants in any aquarium without CO2 injection. It is possible. 90 to 95% of aquarium plants that we have in tanks today don't require CO2 injection. Will it help them? Absolutely. But it's not needed. It's not a necessary requirement. So the best solution is to just maintain a good balance of nutrients and light. As long as you do that, you're not going to have algae issues, and you're not going to run into nutrient deficiencies, and you're not going to have to use liquid CO2 products to help maintain your aquarium properly and keep good flourishing plants. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching Trapfish Aquatics, and I'll see you guys in the next video.